What's the best place to live in the Venice, Sarasota, North Port Englewood areas?
Well, we're going to get into it, and based on specific things that you might be looking for, jobs we're going to cover, shopping, budget, food scene, things to do, and walkability. Let's get started.
Let's start with budget. Depending on what your budget is, you might want to look into Sarasota or Englewood or Venice. So to put it into perspective, Sarasota is going to be more expensive than Venice, then Englewood and Northport are pretty similar, but I think Englewood is a little more expensive depending on the area. But yeah, I think Englewood and Northport are pretty similar.
And Welland Park, if you're, obviously that we know that is Northport, that area is going to be probably comparable to Venice. I think about even level as far as price point goes.
So Sarasota, probably around the $500,000 and upwards for a single family home. Venice and the Welland Park area, $400,000 and upward. You might find in the South Venice area a little lower price than that. It just depends on where you're located in Venice. Englewood, we're able to find homes from the low $300,000 and upwards, just depending on what you're looking for. And finally, Northport, we are able to find great deals in Northport from the $300,000 and upwards as well for a new construction home, a little bit lower if you don't want new construction, and a smaller home as well.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the first things to look at, when you're figuring out where you want to live, because you might really think, oh, that's the place that has everything I need, but that might also bring that price point up. So it's, good to kind of have an understanding of how these things balance out when you're figuring out the spot for you. So the next thing, shopping. I think this is a big one. Everyone wants to have access to, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people want to have access to shopping, right? So obviously, I think the bigger the city, the more that's going to be available to you. Now, I don't think it gets any better than like the Lakewood Ranch area, which is right up here. And the reason for that is because, or Sarasota, if you're like kind of up, and really any of Sarasota, I guess, but if you're up here and you can be near that UTC mall area, I mean, everything is there. You got a mall, you got lots of other like strip outlets there, Trader Joe's, like you name it, it is there. And then also when you incorporate Sarasota itself, you've got two Whole Foods throughout the area. So just a lot of things there, big box stores, great mom and pop shops,
a lot of different shopping centers too throughout the area, different shopping plazas.
Yeah, just so much there that's you're not going to get in any of the other areas, to put it bluntly.
And there's also a couple different downtowns within the Sarasota area to give you even more shopping.
Yeah, you got the St. Armand Circle, Siesta Key Village, downtown Sarasota, which is quite big. And then there's like the Gulf Gate Estates area as well. And there's just other, like Katie mentioned, other shopping centers throughout.
Next one on the list would be Northport. Northport has a lot of different shopping, like big box store shopping. There's TJ Maxx, Burlington, Ross, and some other big department stores. We do feel that Venice and Northport are pretty tight, but I think Northport has a little more, like a little different stores. So that's why we decided to put Northport second. Yeah,
slight edge. I think definitely when you talk big box stores, a little bit more in Northport, and they have certain things that we don't in Venice, like a Dick's Sporting Goods, things along those lines. But I think when you incorporate the mom and pop stuff, Venice might edge it when you incorporate the downtown. So the downtown's got tons, and it's a little bit more, touristy, but mom and pop type shop, beachy themed stuff like that in the downtown area. So
more boutique style stores as well in the Venice downtown, which Northport, there are some here and there, but not, as many as we have in Venice.
Yeah. So if you want more big box stores, probably a little bit more of an edge in Northport, but Venice is not very far behind on the big box store side of things. And I think one thing to consider with both of those areas, you're not too far from Sarasota to get access to those sorts of things. So it's not like just because you live in these areas, you don't have any shopping options. There's quite a bit in both. You got your Walmarts, your Targets. There's even Walmart Neighborhood Market in Northport, which we don't have in Venice. So you got all that, and then a short drive to get up to, Sarasota for some more if you need that. Next one on the list, I'd say towards the bottom end would be Englewood. So Englewood does have a Walmart, they got Publix, Winn-Dixie, all your grocery shopping needs covered there. Definitely way less big box stores as far as like clothing stores and things like that, but there is some stuff there, but definitely not as much as Venice, not as much as Northport. But I think one thing to consider, we're not really talking Port Charlotte on this video, but Port Charlotte is just a quick drive away, and it is another area we serve, by the way, if you do want to buy or sell a home in the area. call, text, or email our team at 941-221-1897. We would love to help you out.
We've helped a lot of people move to the area. We'd love to help you too. And that's a great way to support the channel so we can keep making videos like this.
So yeah, the Port Charlotte area, though, great for big box store shopping. They've got a mall there with a movie theater in it. So it's a really great area. Actually, I'll show you down here on the map. You can see is Englewood, and then here's Northport, and Port Charlotte sits right over here. So you can get access to that pretty quickly. And it's just nice to have that there as well. And really, you can see you're not too far from Northport. You're not too far from Venice as well for shopping. It's just having it right there isn't there. So I guess if we want to include Port Charlotte on this, I would probably put that as about tied with Northport, maybe a little bit better, just because they have the mall. Yeah. So I think that's one thing to consider.
And then Englewood does have some boutique shops as well in the downtown area.
Yeah, that is something not to be overlooked as well.
Shops.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next on the list is jobs. For jobs, definitely Sarasota would be number one, just because it is a bigger city, a lot more different types of jobs too that you can find, healthcare, construction work. If you're looking more of like a corporate office type job, there's a lot of banking institutions in Sarasota.
And I think one thing not to be overlooked is just the location within the state. It puts you closer to Tampa if you're willing to commute. You know, it's a much shorter drive than going all the way from Venice.
Yes.
But Bradenton as well, you know, has a few more options like that as well. Definitely some more professional type jobs, I'd say, though. That would be the biggest differentiator between them and everyone else. And then pretty much everyone else, I would put at a sort of even footing. I mean, you're talking similar things, hospitality related, a little more tourism, I guess, if you're talking Englewood and Venice versus, you know, Port Charlotte or Northport. But obviously then all your typical stuff, you know, teaching jobs, healthcare,
service industry in restaurants, bartending, construction jobs as well, because there's a lot of new construction going on in the area, home remodeling as well. Some houses in the area are a little bit older and are getting remodeled.
Yeah, any of the trades type works too, of course. I mean, that's anywhere. I mean, everyone needs HVAC guys and plumbing guys and electricians. So yeah, I would say you can kind of look clump Venice, Port Charlotte, Englewood, sort of Northport, you know, sort of similarly.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of those, you know, areas, I would say, you know, the Englewood and Venice are a little bit more retiree centric. Northport has a fair amount of retirees as well, but definitely more families and things like that. A lot of people do move to Northport because it's more affordable, as we mentioned before, and Port Charlotte for that matter, and then commute somewhere else for their work. So those are some things to consider and something that's very common.
Next one is things to do, and this really depends on what you're into and what kinds of things you like to do, but Sarasota would probably be number one just because it is a bigger city. There is a lot of amenities, big city amenities, and also there is the beach and parks. So if you're more of an outdoorsy kind of person, Sarasota has you covered on that as well. But the other areas as well, they're just smaller cities, so there is less to do, but we still have, you know, great restaurants. The outdoor scene, it's great for things to do. If you're more into like bars and clubbing, that would be more Sarasota, as we don't really have, we do have like live music in the Venice, Englewood, and Northport areas, and even Port Charlotte, but it is not like clubbing like Sarasota would offer. Not that Sarasota is a big city and there's all these clubs going on like Miami would be, but there is a lot more than what we have farther south.
Yeah, and I would say Venice and Englewood and Northport, I guess, you could definitely give them, I think, an edge over Sarasota if your things to do involve a little bit more nature-centric things and parks. Like Haiti said, lots of parks in Sarasota, but I think Venice and Englewood do parks exceptionally well. The Lemon Bay Park, which extends between the South Venice area and Englewood, is immaculate. Lots of trails. If you want to get out in nature, it's awesome. And then, you know, the jetty in Venice is, you know, kind of more an outdoorsy, free thing to do. So, I mean, I guess on that note, you do have like some more beachy type things you can do in Sarasota as well, but it just hits a little different in Venice. It's a little more quiet feeling. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to compete with Sarasota if you want more, you know, commercial and business things types to do, you know, that kind of entertainment. But if you want a little bit more outdoor stuff to do and stuff that's free / cheap, then yeah, maybe consider Venice, you know, even Welland Park for that matter. And there's a lot of, you know, downtown walkability and things like that to do, which we're going to get into walkability as well. But if you want to just get out to a downtown and kind of walk around, there is a lot of options here. Obviously, there's more downtowns in Sarasota, but there are downtowns to pick from in at least Englewood, Welland Park, and Venice. Which brings us to the next category. Which one is the best for walkability?
Sarasota, it's great for walkability. The downtown area, it's very, very walkable, very well taken care of. There is the marina as well, right off of the downtown, which is very walkable. And all the different downtown areas in Amherst Circle, the Siesta Key Village, all those areas are very walkable as well.
Yeah, and even you could kind of include the UTC Mall area. I wouldn't say it's super walkable in all of it, but there are pockets of it where it is, where you can park and kind of walk around a little bit more. And just, yeah, having a lot more options for that and different communities to pick from. You got to give Sarasota the nod on that. And then even like Waterside Place, you know, and Lakewood Ranch, that's super walkable. It has a very Welland Park-ish feel. And as you're maybe noticing a trend, Sarasota is topping the list on a lot of these. And that's why also it topped the list on the budget. You know what I mean? So that's why it costs more. All of them, you're getting pretty quick beach access. Northport's a little bit further, but with Sarasota, you're getting beach access plus all this other stuff. And then I'd say number 2 probably would give to Venice, just because the whole island is pretty walkable.
Yeah, and the island is our downtown, so there is a lot of sidewalks, and it stands about 2-3 blocks width-wise. And then you can actually walk from the downtown all the way to the beach, which is a pretty cool walk to do. And the houses and condos around the Venice Island, it is very walkable. Even if there is no sidewalks, it is very walkable and safe to walk from your condo down to the downtown East Venice Avenue area.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest thing that really stands out from anywhere else on this list is the walkability to the beach. You can't say that for a lot like of Sarasota really, unless you live in a condo on Siesta Key. So I think that stands out for sure. And there's more single family home options as well on Venice Island. The rest of Venice, I would say, is a little less walkable than the island. So that's one thing to consider with when we're putting Venice on this list. And the same really goes for all these areas. You got to be in the right pocket to be considered walkable. I would say as a whole, none of these cities are super walkable to all your daily needs, but really that's a lot of the United States, really, Florida and the United States for that matter, unless you are in a bigger city and in the right area. But even in Florida, I think in a city, you've got to be in the right area to be walkable to all your basic needs. But I'd say there's definitely options for all of these cities to drive somewhere, park, and then walk around. Next would probably be Englewood.
Yeah.
Welland Park. It's close.
Yeah, it's.
And when we say
Welland Park, it's bigger though. If you think about all the communities and all the like walking from the Atlanta Braves facility all the way to like 41 and the downtown area, that whole area is very, very walkable. The communities are pretty much connected to each other through sidewalks. And Englewood would be more just the downtown area.
Yeah,
that's more
Dearborn Street.
That's more walkable.
Yeah, and I think that would be the biggest thing that stands out between the two is there's more communities that have access in Welland Park to get to that downtown. They might be a little bit further, but they're more set up for it now with the speed limit on Tamiami being 25 going through the Welland Park area, and you can see that area changing by the day. But yeah, all the sidewalks make it a little more conducive to actually walk or bike or golf cart there. And with the downtown Dearborn Street area, it's kind of, the offshoots are nice because they're quiet, from the downtown, those side streets, and you can get a single family home, which is pretty enticing. But once you get outside of that area, now it's not quite as walkable because there's less sidewalks. Yeah. And then Northport, I just would not call walkable in general, like Northport proper, not Welland Park. There's really not a lot of areas that
you can walk on the neighborhood. It's very rural, very quiet, very country-like, so you can walk and it's safe to walk, but it's not really walkable because they don't have as many sidewalks that connect to different areas or a downtown. Northport does not have a downtown, so it is walkable in the sense that you can walk on the street and be safe because pretty much everyone's going to be driving safely in those areas, but there is no main sidewalks to walk So there are some neighborhoods that do have sidewalks, but unless you're in an HOA community, it's not very common.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing to note with like all these areas. Like, so we're saying like there's certain pockets that are walkable and others that aren't. When we say those others aren't, we mean not walkable to like to get to a downtown or get to lots of shopping and restaurants. You can still walk around, and if you're like in a planned community, a lot of those will have sidewalks. But then a lot of the other areas that don't have sidewalks are usually gonna be so quiet that it doesn't really matter. You can just walk on the road. So just some context there to make that clear.
The next one is food scene.
Guess who wins this one?
Again, Sarasota. We love Sarasota, by the way. We go there all the time, pretty much.
Yeah. We live in Venice though, so,
Yes.
and we do love Venice.
Yes, but Sarasota has a lot more different types of cuisines and more restaurants because it is a bigger city. So that's why it gets number one.
Yeah, and how can I put this? Venice has a lot of what Sarasota has, but Sarasota has more options, and then some things that Venice doesn't. But I mean, you want French food, vegetarian or vegan, Caribbean, Latin American, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's just so much to pick from throughout the area, and some of the most highly rated restaurants within a city in all the United States for the square mileage of it. But at the same time, it's kind of not fair to compare Sarasota to Venice because just the size of Sarasota is much bigger. But that being said, you do just have a lot more options and a lot more unique things, I would say, to get in Sarasota. But I would say number two, do we feel comfortable putting Venice there? I think.
Yes, definitely.
I do think Northport is a little underrated and we don't go there enough, but
they have, I think Northport has more, actually, yeah, I think I would put Northport, Sarasota than Northport because they do have more different types of cuisine. I feel like in Venice, we have a lot of Italian. And great Italian restaurants.
Great Southern.
Yes, but I feel like
joints.
we have a lot of Italian, a lot of like barbecue type style.
Yeah,
restaurants.
we do have some good French places, a couple of those. We've got also some good Thai, 2 or 3
Yes.
Thai to go is a new one in Inglewood.
That's Englewood, yeah.
Yeah, that might be the best Thai we've had. And
So good.
there was another place in Orlando that was at the top of the list for years. And
Sarasota.
and Sarasota's got another really good Thai place. So you could tell we like our food. Yeah, man.
It's tough. Maybe a tie between Englewood or Northport.
Even Mango Bistro is one of my top 10 places in all of the United States. And that's in Inglewood too, on Dearborn Street. So sorry we're not as helpful on this because it's those three. I mean, and so as you can tell, there's some really good spots between all those three areas. And really the nice thing is, so I feel like it's almost more fair to clump these together and compare that to Sarasota because land-wise it's closer in size, but you do have a lot of great options. So God, I'm sorry we're not more helpful, but it just depends on what you're into, I think.
Yes, and between the three places, you are able to get different kinds of cuisines and really, really good restaurants for that.
Yeah, and I'd say the one thing that does stand out with Northport to me, in my mind anyways, there's more like European markets and restaurants and things like that. And when I say European, like that's how they're labeling them. Not, so in Venice, we've got French, which we know, is in Europe, but it's a French food place. Whereas there, what was the place we went to? They had
European market.
European, and it felt like some was like kind of more German and almost like Ukrainian and Russian.
Yeah.
So like there's more of that in Northport too. It is one other thing I think that stands out.
Yeah, so I think Sarasota and then Northport, Venice, Englewood.
Yeah, I would probably give Venice
all together.
If I'm splitting hairs, I would probably go Venice, Inglewood, then Northport, but it is very close.
Yeah,
like we're talking about like if one's a 9, one's like a 8.9, one's like an 8.8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're good.
But I do think you're taking Mango Bistro
and
Thai to go, and that's why it's like skewing your results.
Yeah. But they are such great places that, you know what I mean? Like you got to give a few extra points. I don't know. That's just me. But if you've eaten in any of these cities and been to their food scenes, definitely leave a comment so other people know kind of where you would put them.
Let us know what your favorite restaurant in each of the cities is too.
Yeah, that would be great information. So we have somewhere that we
try
have to go. And we can talk about on the channel.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Sarasota, Venice, and Northport areas, make sure to call, text, or email our real estate team, 941-221-1897. We'd love to help you out.
We've helped a lot of people move the area. We'd love to help you too. And it's a great way to support the channel if you're finding the videos helpful so we can keep making you guys videos like this one.
If you found the video helpful, hit the like button and
live breezy.